So good morning. I'm Nancy Watley, and I'm chair of the Terry Third Thursday Committee here for the Terry College. I'm extremely pleased to be here this morning, filling in for Dean Ayers, who is in Arizona for a conference, and speaking on behalf of Terry. So anyway, today at this event, we are always glad to have you here at the TEAC, as we call it, our Terry Executive Education College building. So we're happy to have you, and it's a packed room today. It takes a lot to organize Terry Third Thursday, as you can imagine. A lot of you come every month, and we have fabulous speakers. So there are 9 of us on the Terry Alumni Board that actually do this, and there are several in the room. If you are here, raise your hand. Those, you know you can't see it because everybody's here, but and then we have fabulous sponsors. So let me introduce those. Our corporate sponsor is Bank of North Georgia. So if you give them a hand for us. And then we have 2 media sponsors, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and Public Broadcasting Atlanta, WABE. Thanks to those folks for sponsoring us. We have several great upcoming Terry Third Thursday programs. In March, we have Dennis Lockhart, who is currently the president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, and I think he's on his way to retirement. Be interested to hear what he has to say. April 20th, we have Glenn Lurie, the CEO of AT&T Mobility, whose daughter just recently, in the last year, came to be a Terry College student. And then in May, we have a tentative surprise guest, so stay tuned for that. We would love for you to promote today's event through social media, so please use the hashtag Terry Third Thursday, and make sure that if you do, tag it also to Lee's Twitter handle. It's not hers, it's at GAFMDE. Did I say that right? I think so, GAFMDE, okay. So it's an honor for me to introduce Lee as our speaker today. She's the Deputy Commissioner of the Georgia Film, Music, and Digital Entertainment Office, which is a division of the Georgia Department of Economic Development. She's a native Atlantan. She is a UGA grad and also earned an MFA in Film Studies from Georgia State University. In the early 90s, she attended the Tisch School of the Arts doctoral program in Cinema Studies at NYU and worked at the Brooklyn Arts Council. In 1996, she returned to Atlanta to work with the Georgia Film and Videotape Office as a project manager, then became the location specialist for the office in 98. After finding locations for film and television projects for 12 years, including, some of these I know you'll recognize, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, The Blind Side, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Footloose, Fast Five, The Conspirator, and Zombieland, Lee became director of the film division in 2010 and was then promoted to director of film, music, and digital entertainment in 2011. Please join me in welcoming Lee Thomas.
Thank you. And we're going to start with a little video to show you some of the films that have shot in Georgia throughout the years. Donnie?
Hello. My name's Forrest Gump.
This team is your family, Michael. You have to protect them from those guys, okay? Are you gonna protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Then go have some fun.
Is this part of the plan?
Well, my plan was go easy on him. You want to switch it up?
Come on!
This is nice.
The tomato soup for me, please. That'll do it.
I'm going to take a full slab of the baby bags.
This is from the buffet, and it is on the house.
Enjoy your soup.
Captain, human-piloted simulations showed that you could make it back to the airport.
No one said you were going to lose both engines at a lower altitude than any jet in history. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Cactus 1549. Hit birds. We've lost thrust on both engines. We are turning back towards LaGuardia. Can we get serious now?
Easy on me, I'm gonna switch it up.
Are you ready, Bandit? I was born ready, Lourdes.
I hate to tell you this, but you're going the wrong way on a one-way street.
You wombats have caused so many accidents over the years. There's not a company on this earth who'll cover us.
Daddy!
Who are you looking for, darling?
Earl Smuter.
5th Regiment? Anybody seen Earl Smuter?
Thank you.
Parker?
Welcome to Savannah.
This ain't over.
Life was like a box of chocolates.
I say half. Which half do you want? You want this half? You want this half?
Dear.
Best thing I ever did was install this deep fryer in the Bago.
Ron, why do you have this bag of bowling balls in this terrarium filled with scorpions?
Muskrat, muskrat, candlelight, doing the town
And if you hit any rocks, don't hit them with your head. I can play all day with that guy.
Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. I said just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
It's hard to make a clip reel now. We have so many films that have shot here, and that doesn't even, we can't even put the television shows like Walking Dead and Stranger Things and Vampire Diaries on there because it just gets too long. But our office was actually started in 1973, and it's because of that movie Deliverance that you saw up there. Deliverance shot in Georgia in 1972. It brought money into a very remote part of North Georgia in Rabun County. And so then Governor Jimmy Carter decided to create a film office to try to get more of that kind of business. So our office was started in 1973. We had a lot of great years. A lot of the movies that you saw up there, the Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2, and Longest Yard, and Sharky's Machine, and we even had movies without Burt Reynolds in them. We had movies like Glory and My Cousin Vinny, Driving Miss Daisy. So great years. It was busy here. There were a lot of crew people, a lot of equipment here, a lot of vendors. But then in the late 1990s, Canada started a very aggressive tax incentive program, and they were the first to do it, to try to get what had traditionally been a U.S. business across the border. So they started taking a lot of our business. We started losing everything pretty much but the movies of the week. But so business started closing, businesses started moving away, crew people had to find other jobs, get out of the business. And then, we'd have a few shows a year. We would do about 5 or 6 feature films or television shows a year. And then we worked for a long time on the Ray Charles story. Ray Charles was a Georgia native. We spent a long time scouting for this project. They had made a commitment to shoot in Georgia. They had opened offices. And then Louisiana started a very aggressive tax incentive program in 2003. And so Ray closed their offices, picked up and left. So that was really a wake-up call for our legislature. Either we were going to try to get it in the business or we were going to lose everything, get out of it. So in 2005, we put together a tax incentive program. It was a little convoluted. It was hard for producers to budget with. And so it helped a little bit, but it was not great. But in 2008, we got another one. What it is a 30% tax credit. Let me see if I can bring this up. Don? Okay. Oh. Okay. So it's a total of a 30% tax credit. Some states give you money. They write you a check like Louisiana. Georgia doesn't do that. It is a tax credit-based program. So if you've gone to movies in the last few years, you go to a Georgia movie and you see that big Georgia peach come up in the end-roll credits or on a television show, that's how they get the final 10%. So most of the companies that are coming here, they're making movies, they don't have income tax liability. So what they do is they sell them to corporations, they sell them to groups of individuals, and that's how they monetize them. So they do that through brokers, and they also do it directly with corporations. So they're transferable to anybody with income tax liability. So if you owe a lot of money on your taxes, this is a great way to lower them. So what had traditionally been a business that was all about locations had really become an incentive-driven business. What our office does, and we're part of economic development. If you've been around a while, you know that we used to be industry, trade, and tourism. We changed over to economic development. But we get scripts, mostly from California or New York. We break them down shot by shot, and we try to find the perfect locations in Georgia. We're competing with a world market. But it has been narrowed down by incentives, because now the decisions are not made by directors or producers. The studios will run budgets for incentive states, and then they'll hire people and they'll say, this movie's going to be shot in Georgia or Louisiana or New Mexico. So it's really narrowed down the market for us. So as a result of the 2008 incentive, we did 245 projects last year. Like I said, we used to do 5 or 6 a year. Direct spend of $2.02 billion, and economic impact of $7 billion. In 2007, before we got the incentive, we were at $241 million, and now we're at $7 billion. In fact, in our first 35 years of the film office, from 73 to 2008, total, we did $5 billion. Last year, we did $7 billion. So, as you can see, here's where we've gone since we started our tax incentive in 2008. But Georgia is uniquely situated for the industry. There are states out there that have better incentives than Georgia. But Georgia they do have a good incentive. We do have a good incentive, and it's very important. But we have a lot of infrastructure. We have a lot of sound stages. We have Paul Rollet. He owns a sound stage here in town. His brother never got up. Is that true? He's supposed to be here. But a lot of sound stages, a lot of crew people. We have a temperate climate, so they can shoot here year-round. I mean, one of our biggest competitors was Michigan, but you can't shoot in Michigan in January outside. We have a great workforce, and it's growing all the time. We have diverse shooting locations, so they can shoot in the mountains, they can shoot at the beach, they can shoot in major metropolitan cities. And the ease of access of Hartsfield-Jackson. I mean, if they're shooting in Wilmington or Shreveport, they're probably coming through Georgia anyway. So they really like the fact that there's 26 flights a day to California. And all of that together makes Georgia very desirable. Plus, they love the quality of life here. They love the restaurants, they love the hotels. If you're going to leave your house for, be out of town for 7 months out of the year, this is a great place to do it. So this just gives you an idea, and I'm not sure, I hope you can see this, of what they spend the money on. For every show that is here, we get a breakdown of their community spend. This is Fast and Furious 7. If you can see that, they did 204,000 room nights. 204,000 room nights. There's that new tax that they charge $5 per room night if you stay in a hotel room. That's going a long way right there. $1.1 million in catering, $4.8 million in lumber. They have 1,329 Georgia crew members, 1,761 Georgia cast and extras, and 4,400 security days. So a lot of off-duty cops on that show as well. So there's a lot of categories here that they spend a lot of money on. It goes throughout the economy. In fact, typically they spend about, this is just the MPAA members, that's 6 member companies. Those are only the major studios. It doesn't count Lionsgate or any of the smaller production companies, but they spend about $660 million a year at over 5,400 companies. Recently, I was talking to Charlie Bethel, Senator Charlie Bethel up in Dalton County, and he said, you know, we support the industry, you know, I'm certainly supportive of it, but he said, we don't get anything shot in Dalton, so it doesn't really, you know, have any impact on our community. A few weeks after I talked to him, we had a guy call me, Rick Myers, who has a carpet company up there, and he said, we've sold over $1 million worth of carpet to these film companies. I want to see how to get more of it. So just because you don't have a show shoot in your area doesn't mean there's not an impact. A lot of times, I mean, you know, this is almost 6,000 companies that they're using, and this is just the studio companies. So it may have an impact in an area that you don't know about whether they're shooting there or not. Okay, so this is, you know, in 2010, or before 2010, we had one purpose-built soundstage in the state, and that was Raleigh Studios at Riverwood. It's down in Sonoy. And The Walking Dead, if you're a Walking Dead fan, you'll know that they've been there now for about 7 years. But when we were getting big shows contact us, I mean, I know I flew out to LA several times and met with the Marvel people, and I said, please, please shoot a Marvel movie in Georgia. And they said, we'd love to, but you don't have the space. You don't have anything big enough to contain a Marvel show. So, you know, when the first Hunger Games shot, we tried to get that. We didn't have anywhere for them. They went to North Carolina. When the second Hunger Games shot, it was when there was a downturn in the economy, and Georgia World Congress Center had lost a lot of their trade shows. So kind of as a Hail Mary, we called Georgia World Congress Center and said, is there any way you can accommodate this show? We're going to lose this show if if we can't find a place to put them. So they moved some trade shows around, and we were able to get Hunger Games Catching Fire. And by the time Mockingjay came around, the last two, there were lots of new sound stages being built. So, you know, we have sound stages. You used to go to the old Shannon Mall. That is gone now. That is now Atlanta Metro campus. They have the largest purpose-built soundstage in North America and the second largest. In Fayetteville, what used to be an old wheat field is now Pinewood Studios Atlanta. They have 18 sound stages now, and a soundstage built specifically for the Georgia Film Academy. They're also building housing across the street called Pinewood Forest, where they're putting in 1,400 housing units, 2 boutique hotels, restaurants, all that to accommodate all the people that are down at Pinewood working now. EUE Screen Gems, if you used to go to the Lakewood flea market, the antique market, that is now EUE Screen Gems Atlanta. Like I said, Paul Rollet and John Rollet, they were in the real estate business. They helped us find housing for shows for a long time, and then they ended up buying Mailing Avenue Stageworks. Then they have West Side Stageworks, East Side Stageworks. How many do you have now, Paul? Three. The 3 sound stages, and they've been full since they started. Is that correct? So lots of new sound stages, and what that means for us is that we can try to get more and more shows and bigger shows. And all of these sound stages are virtually full. In addition to the sound stages, we've had lots of new companies move into the state. All of these companies, this is just a representative of some of the companies that have moved in, from banking and financial, studio and stage space, production companies, interactive, transportation. These have all moved to the state. And the great thing about this is all of these stages and the sound stages, these are all tax-paying companies. These are not companies that get to take advantage of the tax credits. The tax credits lure the productions here, but all these companies are here because we're busy. The Georgia Film Academy. If you've heard anything about the Georgia Film Academy, that is something new with the state. That one of our big challenges with the level of business that we've had is that we didn't have enough workforce for all the shows that were coming in. It's a great problem to have, but it's still a problem. There was something that Governor Deal did called the High Demand Career Initiative, And so they would go community to community and ask, what was needed? Do you need welders? What are the positions that you don't have? And so the first one that was industry specific was for the film industry. So at that meeting, we brought in people from Marvel and Floyd County Productions, NBC Universal, Disney, sat them down and said, what positions did you come to Georgia thinking that you could hire locally that you were unable to hire locally that you had to bring in? Because that cost them money. So from that, the governor started something called the Georgia Film Academy. It is a partnership between the university system of Georgia and the technical college system. It's not tied to real estate, but it has started off, at these campuses. These are, right now they have 10 partner institutions. If they already had a film program in place, the Georgia Film Academy would come in and plug their curriculum in. And so you see. So what it is 18, if you have 18, there's 18 credit hours total. It's very, very economical, $125 per credit hour at university system, $79 if you're at the technical college system, and the whole total is 18 hours. So you take an introductory course, 6 credits, then you do an internship on set, so you're going to be working on Walking Dead or a Marvel show or NBC show, and then you take a specialty craft course, or if you don't want to take the internship, you do 2 specialty craft courses. And then you're ready to go out and work in the field. And we already have a couple of hundred of graduates. This just started last January that are now working on set. So it's a great program. It's a way to fast track people into the industry, and it's for all ages. You see some people that are, starting their second careers when they're 50 years old. You see some people that have decided college is not right for them, or they'll start out here, and if they take these classes and they decide they want to be like above the line, they can take these and they'll be applicable to a 4-year degree. So it's a great program. If y'all have heard of the Camera Ready program, this is something that we put together. Georgia is the only one that has it, but it's unique to our office. We have a very small office. There's only 5 people, $7 billion worth of business and 5 of us. Of course, when we did $240 million worth of business, we had 7 of us, so go figure. But so what we have is something called the Camera Ready program. There's 159 counties in Georgia. And in each of those counties, we have somebody that is a designee, our Camera Ready designee. So if we get a script in and it has unique locations, or if we have pictures on file that we're not sure, if the place is burned down, or if they're old, or if it's still in the same status, we can contact our Camera Ready designees. We can shoot them out photos and say, this is what we're looking for. Also, there's somebody in each community that can populate the database, show us the best things that are out there. With the staff that we have, we don't have the time to drive around and look at everything in Georgia, but this has become an extension of our office. It's a great program for us. So if you see the website, you can click down there, and it also tells you all the information about, what the assets are, who to contact for permits. So it's a great thing for producers as well. Film tourism. For years, all we talked about was the production value of shooting in Georgia. And, that is what they spend on the ground here. But what we have learned is sometimes the real money comes long after they've shot. Believe it or not, in 1979, 5 episodes of Dukes of Hazzard were shot here. That's it, 5 episodes. It's still one of the biggest tourism drivers for Newton County, Covington, Georgia. They have a Dukes Fest. They have people travel there all the time. So, it pales in comparison to what they spend on the ground here. So there's all these tour companies that have popped up, Walker Stalker for Vampire Diaries, Mystic Falls Tour, Atlanta Movie Tours. They have a lot of zombie tours, Savannah Movie Tours. And this is if you're a Walking Dead fan, this is Woodbury. But before The Walking Dead came, there were 6 storefronts in Sonoy. Now there are 50 storefronts on the main street. They've built on another part of the town that is all pre-leased. It's completely full. You see all those cars there? I couldn't find parking there on a Tuesday. I mean, it used to be where, when you were scouting with producers, you made sure that you were nowhere near Sonoy at lunchtime because there was nowhere to eat. Now there's great restaurants, there's great shops. It's amazing what a zombie apocalypse has done for that town. It's really great. So we did start a website called Tour Georgia Film, And we are part of, economic development, and so is our tourism department for the state. And this is their year of Georgia film as well. So if you see the tourism guide this year, it has Ian Somerhalder of Vampire Diaries on it. So we're, really promoting the value of film tourism. For this website, it shows you behind the scenes videos, and there's contests to win props from shows, and tells you where all the films, are made. And this just gives you an idea of what is happening here in Georgia right now. You see there's Avengers, 2 Avengers shows, Black Panther, MacGyver, Star, which is a Lee Daniels show, 24 Legacy, if you've seen that, that's already started premiering, Stranger Things, Greenleaf, Pitch Perfect 3. There's a lot of shows here. I mean, I talk about, in 2007, when I was giving a speech, and we don't even put all our reality on there right now. We probably together have about 42, 43 shows going on. But when I gave this speech in 2007, we had 1 2-week show of a reality show called Yo Mama. And all it was people talking bad about each other's mamas. So it was not a lot of production value. They did not spend a lot of money. And now we have these giant Marvel shows and a lot of episodic. So things have changed for us. If you're interested in being involved in the film business, if you have buildings that you want to put in our database, if you want to put your home in our database, if you want to be an extra, if you have a service to offer up to the film industry, the Real Crew database, if you're a vendor or a crew person, you can put your information in there for free. It's at our website at georgia.org. There's also a section where you can list your property, so that will go into our database so that when we get a script and we're looking for Victorian houses or Buckhead mansions, we can find your home and send a show to it. So that's all free at our website at georgia.org. And here are some other resources. Again, the film tourism, Come Tour Georgia or Tour Georgia Film, our official website, georgia.org, our Camera Ready program, and Facebook. There's a lot of opportunities for extras if you want to be an extra, if you have a rare car or something like that. There are always films looking for that. Yep. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes, sir.
Hey, remember, wait a minute, wait on the
Oh.
microphone.
Oh,
Yeah. We're taking it.
okay.
Am I on? Okay. So where does Georgia rank now in film and movie production nationwide?
3rd in the nation. Behind Los Angeles and New York, we're 3rd in the nation. 5th in the world. Yeah. That's it.
Major focus and an economic driver, there should be some discussions going on between the flagship university and your organization.
Well, with the Georgia Film Academy, they definitely want to engage, the above-the-line school, the people that would create the above-the-line workers, that would be producers, directors, writers, those kind of things as well. From a pure job standpoint, when you're looking at a movie, there's one director and there may be, 40 scenic painters. And if Disney says to us they need scenic painters, we're trying to get those jobs filled as quickly as possible. It's rare that they come to us and say they're looking for a director. But the idea of the Georgia Film Academy is to start with those jobs that they need most and then move up so that we're creating our own content. And I think that's where the four-year universities really come in to play. We certainly are in constant talk. We try to support the Peabody Awards any way we can. We're in constant contact with Jennifer Frum and all the people at the university as well about what's going on with their communications department and Charles Davis. So well aware. But yes, it's what the great thing about the Georgia Film Academy is if we have a show and they say, we're coming in 4 months, we're going to need this position, they can grab folks mostly out of the technical college system and start training them right then and just put them straight onto a show, which is great. Yes.
Hey, are there any new legislative initiatives that y'all are pushing for the film industry?
one instance that I have in mind is that the finance community has a tough time financing some of the stuff because of the risk of legislators changing their minds and some of the issues around how much economic benefit is it really having, and having some consistency or long-term expectation that the laws will stay in place for a much longer period than it currently is on the books for.
Well, I mean, unlike some states that set sunsets on their legislation, Georgia doesn't have one. So you would have to introduce legislation to stop the incentive. Typically what you'll see in other states, like North Carolina, they'll say, okay, we'll do this 3 years and then we'll decide if we're going to re-up it, which makes, investors skittery. And you don't want to do a television series that might go on 7 seasons in a place where you might lose the incentive. But Georgia was, it's not like they can set a law that says this incentive is going to last for 30 years. That's illegal. They can't do that. So it's kind of the best case scenario in that you have to introduce legislation to stop the current legislation. We've had great legislative support. There are incentives that are kicking around out there right now, but I don't think they're going to drastically alter, the current incentive. But I think they might, end up adding something else to it. It's hard to say.
What can we do in terms of supporting our legislators to make sure they don't fall down the road of North Carolina? Because obviously a repeal would be a disaster for us. But at the same time, California, who has a matching tax incentive now, they can't compete. So I think it's somewhere in between is where we're at.
Well, with North Carolina, they lowered their tax incentive, they lowered their cap, then they raised their cap again, so they went down to 10 million, then they came up to 30 million, but then it was that kind of did them in. The major studios are not going to shoot. The major studios are not going to shoot in North Carolina with the bathroom bill there. So it's a combination of making sure that we have legislation that not only with the incentive, but there's not something else that's prohibiting them from coming here or that they won't come here. With California, they don't have a matching incentive to us. They have, a pot of money. What you do is you fill out, all of the jobs you think you're going to create. They look at all those scripts and how many jobs you're going to create, and they decide which ones they're going to take. So you may get the incentive, you may not get the incentive. They let you know. Most people will put in for the California incentive on the chance that they may want to shoot in California. California companies. So some get it, some don't get it. Georgia's not like that. If you spend the money here, you're a qualified project, you'll get it. So.
Earlier in your presentation, you had a slide that had all the revenue aspects, the economic stimulus. What's the cost? What has Georgia forgone in terms of tax credits? We're a business school. We need to know the return on investment, right?
The last study that was done, and there's a study being done right now, Roger Tutterow is working on a study for us, but the last one that was done was done by Myers Norris Penny, and it was for every $1 in tax credits, we got back $1.24. So we'll see what the next one brings. Yes, Greg. Yes, Greg.
Now it comes on. Lee, what's the biggest threat as you see it today? Our trajectory is like this.
Sure.
At first it was build it and they will come. And so we've got great infrastructure in place, but what is our threat going forward?
Obviously the biggest thing would be to lose the incentive. That would be very detrimental to the business here. We definitely see the prices going up as we get more and more shows. I think people tend to get a little bit greedier, and the prices are definitely going up for across the board as far as location fees and rentals and that kind of thing. But our biggest thing right now, it's a totally different problem that we had years ago. When I started, it was like we would fly out to California and show them pictures of Georgia in a book, like this is what it looks like, because there was no internet. So it's changed. But the thing about it is most conversations that start with me, and it's most of the people that shoot in Georgia have been here before. They're people that we know, producers that we know. It starts with, how busy are y'all? They're just like, oh, I can't, we're going to shoot in Georgia, but is there any way we're going to find crew and equipment? So you end up kind of talking them off the ledge from the very beginning about how busy we are. Yeah, it's a good problem. I lie sometimes too.
Lee?
Yeah.
Your comment about Georgia being third in the nation behind New York and L.A. What are the metrics? What are the measurements, and how do we rank, and what are just the raw numbers involved there?
Well, that was the ranking that Film LA, that did a big film study, had given us on the amount of production from, they're not happy about it, but yeah, it's LA, then in North Carolina, or New York, I'm sorry, and then Georgia. But, we, as far as the number of productions, it's mostly on the production spend. It's not, because you could have, it is hard to measure because people count things differently. Like if you said, this is how many projects we have, they could all be commercials, or they could be a Marvel film. So we try to keep it at money and, the direct spend of what the industry has done here. Yes.
My name's Nancy Prager. I'm a lawyer. I moved back to Atlanta after being gone for 15 years to be part of the community, and I represent a great group of producers and production service companies who are creating content locally. What can your office do to better serve the local producers who are building an infrastructure that will create content even if the incentive goes away?
I mean, we offer the same services to, whether they're an in-state corporate, company or an out-of-state company. We offer location services. We take people around for scouts. We have, permitting assistant, logistic assistants. And, how it works typically is, it starts off, they send us a script. We break it down shot by shot. We put together a location package. If they like what they see, we'll take them around for a few days, show them their best options for locations, help them find, production office space, and then from that point on, we're really there to help them logistic support. If they run into problems with permitting, if they can't get a location that they need, we try to intercede on their behalf, and so that service is offered to anybody. When you see companies like Tyler Perry that are creating content here, or Pop Films, or any of those companies, they're so used to doing it themselves, and they're so familiar with the area, they don't tend to use our services as much as out-of-state companies, but they're certainly available to them.
Is Canada still a big threat to you, and do you see any changes to the NAFTA that are being discussed impacting that?
Certainly that could, anything like Brexit could change things. I've had people say that they don't know if, in the future there will be tariffs on companies that go out of the country to make movies. Everything is kind of shifting ground right now as far as what's going on. Canada, their biggest asset, I think, right now, what we compete with them, or what we lose to them, and we will probably continue to do so until we have something built that can compete with them, is visual effects. People do a lot of visual effects work in Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, and that's just something that we don't have yet, but I anticipate in the next few years we will.
It's been some time since I've seen tax benefit transfers, the last one being a MARTA transaction. How does the benefit of the tax credit get transferred? What are the mechanisms that are used?
Well, do you mean how literally do they get transferred?
Yes, in the MARTA case, it was a lease-in, lease-out structure. Is it just a straight sale?
It is a straight sale, and it is, it's very simple paperwork. So you see, some people are using brokers, and when we started the film tax credit program, it did not have, there was no way to indemnify the credits. So basically, if a company earns the credits and then they sell them to an individual or corporation, there was a 3-year look-back period with the Department of Revenue. And so that made companies nervous. No surprise there. So now the Department of Revenue offers a voluntary audit So you see most of the companies that come here and shoot, especially the big companies, they will pay the Department of Revenue to do an audit. The credits will be indemnified at that point. So the price of the credits has gone from lower to mid-80s to about 91, 92 cents on the dollar. So they're selling them, you know, a lot of times directly to the corporation. Again, it's like, you know, it's a sale where, you know, say this is how much, you know, we earn this much, this many tax credits, and then there's a long sheet. These are the corporations and the FEI numbers that we're transferring them to. It's pretty straightforward. Are they lenders? They're anybody that has income tax liability in the state. The corporations earning them would be, you know, Marvel or Paramount or Lionsgate. And then, you know, they are just using this transfer form and saying, okay, we're transferring this to, you know, Apple or Walmart or UPS or a group of individuals. I mean, it's a long list. Sometimes you see 30, 40 individuals on there. But they're moving so quickly now that typically it's corporations because it's easier. It's going to be like a one-time thing instead of trying to put together a whole group of people.
Hi, Lee. Yep, right in front of you, actually.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of question, kind of targeted for the audience that we have here today. In terms of professionals, especially early career professionals and business school students, are there certain areas or skill sets or kind of for business specifically that you think you see growing, or that there's trends that, you know, I guess folks in the business community might want to keep an eye on in the next 5 to 10 years here in Georgia?
I mean, I think that it's going to, you know, the way films are made is changing, and I think, you know, technologically, I think that's what we need to stay ahead of the curve on. I mean, most of the jobs, again, that we're looking at are the ones that are the broad stroke kind of positions that, you know, a show may come in and they need 40 or 50 of very quickly. But the good thing about the film industry, it requires all kinds of skill sets. Hairdressers, CPAs, truck drivers, you know, caterers, and then there are the technical things like camera people and all that. But certainly I think, you know, there's going to be more room for, again, the above the line where people are trying to create content here. So, you know, literary agents and those kind of things, media lawyers. But that's kind of a little out of our world.
Can I follow up on that one? What's the investor climate like for the films in Georgia? Are we raising a lot of money locally, or is that being done, you know, in other markets as well?
I mean, there's a lot of talk about it, but I'm not sure how real it is at this point. You know, I think that we lag behind some of our competitors in having real investment money in this. I think it's a new industry for us, and I think people are still a little hesitant, but there's certainly a lot of talk about it, so hopefully it will happen. Yes?
I'd like to know, from a union standpoint, how does that fit in terms of being part of the job market? What are the union rules in terms of those kind of things?
Well, I mean, you know, Georgia's a right-to-work state, but most of the shows, and by most I mean, you know, probably 95% of the projects that we get are signatory to the union. If you're over $1 million, they're going to try to organize you if you're not a union show. Most of our business is with, you know, the bigger studios or production companies, and they'll make deals with the Teamsters or the IAA or the DGA or SAG, you know, years in advance. So they'll set up a 3 or 4 year deal for Georgia. So by the time the show comes here, it's already signatory to the union. And whether you're a union member or not, and not all the positions are covered crafts in any union, but if the show is signatory, it's going to abide by the same rules. I mean, you're going to get the same breaks and the same meals and everything else. You're not going to get the, you know, the insurance or something like that, but everything else would be the same for you. So it's definitely a very, very union business. When we see, you know, there are problems like if a union show goes into a union house, like a theater here, you know, one of them takes it to the door, then another union picks it up there. It's kind of nuts, but yes.
I'm over here.
Yes.
Two things. One, I thought I own an animation studio, so I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about the animation visual effects part of the tax credit for everybody in the room. And then two, I thought I'd also just try to take a little of the mystery of the tax credit purchase and out for everybody. I own a small business, and we've even though we produce shows, we're not able to take the tax credit because Turner is the producer on record for the tax credit, so they take it each year. But as a small business owner, we actually purchase because we're a C corp and we or an S corp, and it passes through to our returns every year.
Mhm.
So everyone that's in the room that might have a liability like that, we purchase the tax credits. We actually purchased Fast and Furious 7 tax credits last year,
Mhm.
and it's not a big deal. It sounds complicated, but if you talk to your accountant, we purchase tax credits every year, even though we produce shows ourselves, and it's a great savings. It doesn't have to be a big corporation, like you mentioned, UPS and all these things, to purchase tax credits. It's a valuable asset, and it offsets our Georgia liability every year. And it's always fun to see what movie we're going to get, and that part's fun. So you can talk to your accountant. The only hard part about it is there's a big competition, and it's really tough to get them every year. So, but anyway, I wanted to kind of take some of the mystery out. It sounds so scary and hard, but it's really not that big of a deal. The only hard part is actually getting them.
Yeah.
And then again, for the animation bit, it also qualifies for the credit, and there is a huge and growing community for animation and visual effects that qualifies. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, animation qualifies, interactive gaming. That I don't handle the interactive gaming, but certainly animation, if it's feature films, television shows, that goes through our department. Because interactive is typically moving companies, we move that to global commerce, so we have a person specifically for that, Asante Bradford. But yes, all of that counts for the tax incentive, and there's legislation that's out there right now that, you know, we're keeping an eye on, so there may be changes this session, but nothing that would hurt, you know, the film tax credit bill. Yes?
Good morning. I was curious whether or not George Lucas has expressed any interest to bring his educational aspects to film here to Georgia. I know he has a huge animation, special effects, things like that going on in California.
Yeah, no, he has not, sadly, but he has not.
Somebody to look, you know, to try and recruit.
Yes. Anybody else?
What is the annualized salary of people that graduate from the school? What kind of wages is that?
I mean, the average in the film industry is $84,000 a year across all crafts. So it is big, yeah. And this is, you know, 12 weeks of schooling. That's not bad.
And one thing that's so cool about that is that in California, there's nothing like the Georgia Film Academy. If you want to get on a set in California, I just talked to a producer yesterday, and they get 300 resumes for every crew position that they get. So it ends up being who you know. This program it's the most remarkable thing you've ever seen. Lee and Jeff Stepikoff have done this amazing job providing opportunities that just don't exist anywhere else. And North Carolina never did it. It's amazing.
It's great, and Jeff has done a great job. And you know, to have something that it, you know, has to go through the Board of Regents and through government and do 2 institutions and have it up and running in a matter of months, that's nuts. You know. Okay, anybody else? Well, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. There's my water.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Give another round of applause for Lee, please. Throwing it away now. It's our tradition to present a keepsake to all of our Terry Third Thursday speakers, and we'd like to give you this glass sculpture. It's created by Loretta Eby, and we hope you will display that proudly.
I will indeed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. I poured my water out.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Don't forget next month, and come back to see us, and don't forget to get your parking validated. Have a great day.